29er online tests the Pivot Mach 429. In my first video we talked a lot about Pivot's DW-Link rear suspension and also discussed Fox's RP23 rear shock with Pro Pedal. Here I test for suspension bob by climbing the big hill at Jordan Lake Dam. Big ring and very little bob. Shift in the middle ring, pretty much the same result. But go to the small ring where you can really put some torque on the suspension and you can see some substantial bob. The Pro Pedal's engaged, but you can see that the suspension remains fully active. The big gears in my test got an A+, but if you do a lot of granny gearing up the steep stuff, you better plan on using a much higher Pro Pedal setting. And now for my pet peeve with Fox and the bike manufacturers on this great shock, and that is it works so good that I'm constantly turning Pro Pedal on for every climb, off for every downhill, and what happens? You're flying down a hill. What do you got to do next? You got to climb. So you're going fast and you got to perform a risky maneuver. You're riding along and you got to reach down and fumble around and try to find that switch and get it to flop to turn the Pro Pedal on or to turn it off, and you're whipping in around trees and stuff. It's just a really risky maneuver, and sometimes it's quite impossible to get to. I guess we might have to wait till Shimano starts making these shocks, and for sure they'll put a button on their multi-function brake shifter levers, and the problem will go away. But that's one improvement I really would like to see the manufacturers make. Now off to our test track, the Jonesboro Fault Trail located in Sandley Park, and our favorite test section, Free Fall. While I show you some video of us thrashing the Pivot, let's go over some of the conclusions of this test. I give the Pivot Mach 429 high marks in the following areas. The frame is heavy duty and super stiff. No flex here. The rear DW-Link suspension is high tech. I really liked its sporty feel. It's very active but not mushy. It is very efficient in the bigger gears, almost bob free. But if you're going to do major granny gearing, you'll definitely want to turn the Pro Pedal up. This bike handles extremely well. The attached video shows it conquering the rocks here at Sandley. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Pivot's high-speed handling. Like all 29ers, the Pivot's a little slow off the line, but once you get her wound up and a big momentum kicks in, better hold on. The Pivot's race bike heritage will kick in. This bike's a blast to ride fast, but watch out. It's so fast it's easy to exceed your abilities. I found myself coming into corners a little too hot and going wide through them. Not a problem once I learn my limits. Besides being fast, the Pivot is fun. No need to zigzag down the trail looking for the smoothest path. Just go straight. The shortest distance will be the fastest. On the other hand, while in play mode, I would zigzag down the trail looking for the big stuff. This bike's that fun. As far as climbing goes, the Pivot is good and bad. The good part is you got great traction. It'll go up anything. Oh, that is, if you have the strength to
push its heft up the hill. And by the way, if you're planning on using granny gear, then you better dial up that pro pedal to dampen out the suspension bob. Now that we're on the subject of negatives, you heard my beef in part 1 about ground clearance. If you ride over lots of rocks, you might want to try to talk the dealer into getting you a longer 120mm fork over the standard 100. That extra 20mm makes a difference. My next beef with the pivot is weight. Our test bike was reasonably equipped with components listed on our website. But when we weighed this bike over at the bike shop with our trusty Park digital scale, this bike weighed in at 29 pounds even. Pretty tough to push that much weight around. Sure, you can make it lighter, but in today's economy, who can afford XTR? The best thing about the Pivot is its sport bike ride. Big wheels, big suspension equals big fun. And more fun is what it's all about. How do those ads go? Do it longer and harder? Yep, that's right. Bigger is better. 29ers give you the smooth ride. Stay tuned to 29eronline.com as we search for the best big wheel bikes on the planet.